Be gentle with everyone you meet, because inside, everyone is fighting a great battle. Where's the battle in that? Sometimes I encounter things in the world and they make me angry or judgmental, and I become upset. That is the battle. The battle is not going on outside of me between me and someone else, me and an idea. The battle is going on inside me. And once I realize that I don't have to feel that way, that opens up a new chapter in my life. Once I feel whatever I'm feeling, I can choose what I'm going to do about it. It's easy to understand that choice, but what about acting on that choice? You develop the ability to choose to act from a loving part while you're experiencing a frightened part. And as you do that, you begin to move beyond the control of the frightened part. It's a journey worth taking, and you're on it. Welcome back. I heard a saying once that went straight into my heart, and I've never forgotten it. Be gentle with everyone you meet, because inside, everyone is fighting a great battle. What does that mean? I can share with you what it means to me, and you can see if it means that to you also. Sometimes when I encounter something in the world, it makes my heart sing, and I feel closer to people. I feel connected because I am connected. I can appreciate the great depth of their lives, the complexity of their lives. I can see the beauty in their lives, in the words that they're using. And in particular, I can feel the beauty in their lives with the intention with which they are speaking or acting. And it creates those same things in me. We reflect one another, and I become creative and compassionate and loving. So where's the battle in that? There's no battle in that. No battle at all. Because that is an experience of love. There is no conflict in love because there is no exclusion in love. There is no judgment in love. There's only acceptance, appreciation, awe, and warmth. Sometimes I encounter things in the world and they make me angry or judgmental, and I become upset, and I don't like what's going on around me, and I don't care if I tell people about that. And I'm thinking that other people are the reason for my feeling the way I am. And I don't like that, and I don't like them. I can be jealous or competitive or resentful or impatient. And all of these things hurt, and they're painful. Where's the battle in that? That is the battle. The battle is recognizing that in itself does not recognize a battle. When I'm in that consciousness, I feel right and I feel righteous. And the only thing I'm battling is everyone else. That's only the way it looks. The reality is the battle is not going on outside of me between me and someone else, me and an idea, me and another person. The battle is going on inside me because I don't like the way that I feel when I feel angry or jealous or resentful or competitive or superior or inferior. And once I realize that I don't have to feel that way, that opens up a new chapter, a new vista in my life. It doesn't mean I can decide what I'm going to feel in the moment. I can't. But here's the new vista. Once I feel whatever I'm feeling, I can choose what I'm going to do about it. We are in a new phase of our evolution. The entire human species is encountering a new consciousness. It is emerging, and it is emerging in us, and that means it's emerging in you. And as it emerges in you, you begin to realize, and more than that, to experience that your personality is not one thing, that sometimes is angry and resentful and competitive, and at another time is grateful and appreciative and caring and connected. Your personality has many parts to it. Some are painful and express these experiences of anger, competitive, resentfulness, and so on. And some feel good, and they are expressed in your experiences of gratitude and appreciation and caring and contentment and awe of the universe. Once you see that, you realize you can choose between them. When you are experiencing a part of your personality that is painful, that is judgmental, that doesn't like what it sees and strives to change the world, to change how it feels, and you feel the pain of that. And then you realize there is another part of your personality that feels the opposite, connected, caring, loving, compassionate. Then you see that it's up to you which experience you're going to act on. Are you going to act on the first one, jealousy, resentment, anger? Or are you going to act on the other one, compassion, care, contentment, appreciation? Well, that's the choice. It's easy to understand that choice. But what about acting on that choice? That's the battle. Because the parts of your personality that are in pain are parts of your personality that originate in fear. And they are magnetically attractive. And they are powerfully attractive. And they feel right and righteous. And they demand expression. And it takes your willpower, your free will, not to express them while you're feeling them. Why not? Feels so good to express them, to let other people know how wrong they are, how right you are. That creates consequences. You've experienced them. Every time you act on a frightened part of your personality, you experience consequences in your life. Anger, for example, was a big part of my life for a long time. And I knew it. I was even proud of it. I would tell people, yes, I'm angry. So what? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. And I meant it. And that created for me consequences that I didn't realize at the time, although I lived them and I realized them. I isolated myself from people, except other people who were angry. People didn't want to be intimate with me. They wouldn't share their inner experiences. They wouldn't be vulnerable. And that was a good choice on their part because I didn't care what they were feeling, what they were thinking, or what their struggles were. That's how a frightened part of your personality is. That's what it feels. And if you're not aware that it's only a frightened part of your personality, it's only one part of your personality and you've got many parts, then you think those experiences are your experiences and they appear that way to you while you are experiencing them. But once you know that those experiences come from a frightened part of your personality, and you realize, you search your memory, you listen to podcasts like this one or this one that tell you that acting in anger, acting in fear, acting in jealousy create painful consequences for you. You know that you don't want to create those consequences anymore. I did because they're so painful. And mine were continual, and yours will be too until you begin to challenge them. And that challenge is the beginning of the battle. How do you challenge a frightened part of your personality? You experience it fully. You don't just give it a label and say, I'm angry, like I did, or I'm jealous. or I'm superior, or I'm inferior. You feel it. This is called emotional awareness, not emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. Because as you become aware of your emotions, you realize that there's only two kinds, love and fear. That's what we've been talking about. And when you're in fear and you act on it, you create painful consequences for yourself. And that is what you've been doing all your life until you become aware of your ability to do otherwise. This new consciousness that is now infusing, emerging, enveloping, not enveloping because that sounds like it's from the outside, it's emerging inside you, is changing all of that. And you realize for the first time, you can choose how you're going to speak, how you're going to act when you're angry, and choose not to speak or act in anger or jealousy or resentment or competitiveness or inferiority or superiority. And to do that, you use your will, your volition, to put your attention into a loving part of your personality, one that's grateful or appreciative or caring or content or patient or in awe of the universe. And then you decide to speak or act from that loving part, a caring part, a grateful part, a contented part, instead of the part of your personality that's frightened, while you're experiencing the part of your personality that's frightened, while you're experiencing its painful physical sensations, and it comes with painful physical sensations, and being able to experience them is emotional awareness. And while you're experiencing them, act from love, from gratitude, from appreciation. That's the battle. You're in it. And if you're not aware, there's no battle. You're simply acting from fear. And you're creating painful consequences for yourself. Have you ever met someone that you think is far beyond you, someone who doesn't experience the things that you do, the frightened parts of your personality? For example, a Zen master or a guru or someone you recognize, an advanced soul incarnate, and they speak in wisdom and you resonate and you think these people can't experience what I'm experiencing. They're far beyond that. Suppose they're not. Suppose they experience frightened parts of their personality with the same acuteness and even more so than you experience the frightened parts of yours, but they have more ability to do this process that I've just described. It's called creating authentic power. It's called creating authentic power because when you follow and act on a frightened part of your personality, that is external power. And external power is a part of the old consciousness, the consciousness that we're leaving behind. External power's ability to manipulate and control, to change the world. And the more ability you have to do that, the more power you're said to have, or you think you have. What's that mean? You can manipulate the world with money. That's obvious. If you have an office on the 38th floor of a tall building in a corner with gorgeous views, you've got more external power than people working in the basement, keeping the building warm. They have none. They have no view, very little money. And you've got the view and you've got the money. That's external power. But external power is expressed in so many other ways. It's expressed by weapons, police, military, badges, authority. It's also expressed you in every attempt that you make, that frightened parts of your personality make to manipulate or control the world, whether it's the way you appear, the clothes you're wearing, the way your hair is styled or unstyled, the things you own. Is it the t-shirt that's really cool? Or is it a dinner jacket that cost $1,700? Doesn't matter. It's both the pursuit of external power when you're using something that you own or you think that you are to make yourself feel better about yourself. You're trying to change the world. That's external power. That's acting from a frightened part of your personality, and that's creating painful consequences for yourself. As you create authentic power, you begin to challenge and move beyond the control of the frightened parts of your personality. You still experience them. They still come. They still think painful, judgmental thoughts about you and about others. But you develop the ability to choose to act from a loving part while you're experiencing a frightened part. And as you do that, you begin to move beyond the control of the frightened part. And after a while, its control over you begins to diminish and then disappear eventually. But that doesn't happen smoothly, easily. It requires commitment, courage, compassion, conscious communications, and conscious actions on your part. But it's a journey worth taking, and you're on it. And it becomes a battle when you realize that you don't want to unconsciously act anymore from the frightened parts of your personality and create the painful consequences that they are generating in your life. And you intend instead to act from love, from gratitude or appreciation or awe of the universe, and create the blissful, healthy, constructive consequences that they create in your life. But now you're creating them consciously by choosing to act with their energy. That is the energy of love. That is the quality of consciousness you are choosing to express, to live, to be in your life. And as you do, the emotional pain in your life begins to diminish. But every time it comes, you say thank you for it, because it's showing you a part of your personality that's preventing you from the blissful love that you are. I heard a story about Michelangelo once, the great Italian sculptor. I was in Firenze, Florence, Italy, and at that time, one of his greatest statues, a 17-foot marble statue, was standing outside the door of its museum, and I stood at it in awe. I wasn't very aware then. I was riding a motorcycle and still experimenting with some drugs. But I didn't need the motorcycle or the drugs when I looked at that statue. It took my breath away. It was so real. I could touch it. I could feel it. I could feel it. That statue is called David in Italian. It's David with his slingshot. David looking up at a giant standing before him, Goliath. And all he's got is a rock and a little slingshot. But there's something about him. It's not defiance. It's sensitive. He's sensitive. He's soft. And he's got his slingshot hanging from his right hand. And I could not grasp how that statue was made of marble and not of flesh. Michelangelo had many sculptures that he made in his life, and all of them were like this. So living, so lifelike, yet coming from stone. And the story I heard about Michelangelo, which I do not know is true or not, but it's true in my heart. Someone said, "How did you do that? How did you create David out of a huge block of marble?" And he said, "I saw the David in the marble, and I removed the marble that was concealing it." That's what you do when you create authentic power. Each choice to act in love instead of fear is analogous to your taking a hammer and a chisel, as Michelangelo did, and chipping away a piece of the marble, except what you're chipping away is the control over you of a frightened part of your personality. And you do that again and again and again with all of the parts of your personality. Now that's a long road to walk. And that's the one we're walking now that we're multisensory, now that we're beyond the old consciousness. But there's a way to make it shorter. You make the path shorter by simply deciding to accept your life the way it is, to cease the great battle, and then to choose love no matter what comes up in your life. I'm so happy to share these things with you because they are the stuff of our life. And everyone has got that stuff, fear and love inside of them. Fear is the stuff. It's illusion. Love is real. And that's why following it takes you where you want to go, to meaning, purpose, joy, fulfillment. So be gentle, not only with everyone that you meet, but with yourself, because all of us are fighting the great battle. I love you, and I love talking with you. And I'm so grateful that we're together on this podcast. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. I'm Gary Zukav.